Lou, you can read the script that you have about starting the meeting.
Yes, sir. Bear with me 1 second. Very good. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. For our guest, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 speeches from either the traditional or pathways programs, or you must have substantial relevant presentation experience that you demonstrate to us in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. Folks, if you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and your role if you have one. Right-click on your video thumbnail and select Rename to do so. We have members and oftentimes guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we are recording this meeting. Your video and audio contributions may be used for our club marketing purposes. Please be sure to mute your microphone when you are not speaking. I am now going to change hats virtually since I really only have this one physical hat, to take off my Sergeant at Arms hat and put on my President hat. Please welcome me, your President, Lou Brown, to the virtual stage. Thank you, everyone, for being at our meeting. Thank you very much, Marion, for joining us for our meeting. I did pronounce your name correctly. Is that right, Marion? Okay, awesome. Thank you for joining us. We have an intimate group tonight, as you can see, or today, this afternoon, wherever you may be calling us from, given it has been the holiday weekend. But we have hopefully a full agenda nonetheless, with all rows filled, etc. Let me do a quick check with our Toastmaster to make sure that is the case, that we are all good to go with all roles, etc.
We have open roles for Counter, Grammarian, Watcher, and Chat Monitor, but we do have the theme for the day, which is listed on the sheet. And the theme is religious celebrations, Easter, Passover, and Ramadan. And the word of the day is meditation.
Okay, I'm just writing some of this down. You said Counter, Grammarian,
Watcher, and Chat Monitor.
Okay, so in my opinion, I believe we can dispense with Chat Monitor unless anyone objects to any of this. Feel free to raise your hand. And Watcher, and
I can be the
Counter
watcher.
in some ways.
I can be the watcher in addition to evaluating.
Okay, thanks, Jim. I was going to suggest that perhaps Grammarian is one of the most important roles in terms of the support roles. We can dispense with Counter, as we are all advanced speakers. I think we're getting pretty good at being aware of our clutch words and and sentence starters and things like that. So I'm happy to dispense with that role. Would anyone like to be the Grammarian for the meeting who does not have a role? If not, we can sort of dispense with that. I may provide a little bit of my own Grammarian notes if I happen to catch things along the way. I would like to choose the word construe for our word of the day.
You didn't like meditation, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. You have one. What is the word?
Meditation, because of the religious nature of the past week.
My favorite activity. Wonderful. Meditation it is. Okay. And Jim, I think you said you were taking Watcher, right? So Watcher,
Sure.
Chat Monitor. I may check the chat as well. Okay, so I will act as Grammarian. If I happen to catch some significant
this is Adrian. I can check the chat.
Oh, thank you, Adrian. Appreciate that. Okay, before
can I have screen sharing? Can I have screen sharing rights, please?
Please excuse my breaking in like this, but if there's some role that you need me to take on, somebody tell me.
Marty, we'd love you to do Counter. Would you like to do that?
I'll be delighted.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
And we have a speaker role available.
Well, I'm sorry?
Did the speaker role get filled? We have 2 speakers instead of 3.
Yeah, I believe we have well, Toru's noted as speaker 3. Speaker 1 is Andre, who was meant to be speaker 2. Was there another? Andy, help me out. Is Adrian evaluating Toru, since I see a 2 and a 3 there?
We have Andre, speaker number 1. Speaker 2 is open. Speaker 3 is Toru. So we have an opening for speaker 2 if anybody has a pocket speech that they want to do, or a speech in preparation that they would like to practice, or a speech for a contest that they would like to practice. So we have a speaker role opening, and we have evaluators Carolina for 1, Adrian for 2, and Jim Barber for 3.
Okay, since Jim has taken on another role, Adrian, would you be happy to evaluate Toru's speech? Unless, Jim, I don't want to take away. You're fine either way.
I've
I
already,
don't, it doesn't matter. Whatever you guys want.
I've already
Nobody's gonna
warned,
speak?
Sorry, Jim.
I've already warned Toru that I'm in a nasty mood, so I think
Ah.
he's prepared.
Yeah,
Adrian,
that's
let me
fine.
ask you, are you in a good mood?
I'm in a good mood. No one wants to speak? That's funny.
Okay, awesome. Well, works out well. Toru will be speaker 2. Adrian will be evaluating Toru. And Jim, thank you so much, because you did step up for, I believe there was Watcher. Perhaps you could also do chat monitor, since Adrian is now evaluating Toru. Does that work for you, sir?
I can do that.
Okay, wonderful. Sounds like we're all set. We have at least a solid cast of characters for our meeting. Bear with me 1 second, because before we go any further, we are going to have a special little session right now. Okay, well, as you may all know, our newest member is Toru. Let me back up. Our newest member who is returning is Adrian. We've had so many wonderful new members lately that it's hard for me to keep track. Adrian, welcome back to Online
Thank you.
Presenters. Really appreciate your, I guess I'll say, coming back to the family. We're all like a family.
Yes,
here,
I
so.
missed you guys.
Awesome, and we missed you as well. We, as part of the new member onboarding or orientation, we do have a new member induction. Now, you were a member before, but I thought, you know what, let's just go through the motions and do this again, since it's kind of fun for me. Hopefully it's a little fun for you.
Okay.
So I am going to share my screen real quickly. Hopefully you all can see that. I'm in sort of slideshow mode. Works for me. Okay, Adrian. Here we go. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, on behalf of Online Presenters, it is my duty and privilege to, I guess I'll say, re-induct Adrian into our club. This is an important occasion both for Adrian and for our club. As experienced Toastmasters and presenters and speakers, this individual, Adrian, will enrich us as we strive to enrich her in a spirit of sharing and enjoyment. Together, we expand our effectiveness as dynamic leaders, presenters, and communicators. Now, Adrian, please wait until I call on you to reaffirm your commitment to the Toastmaster promise. In the presence of online presenters, do you pledge to attend meetings regularly and prepare for each assignment, to actively participate in club activities, to evaluate others in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with our fellow members, and to bring other new members into the club so that they also can gain the benefits of the Toastmasters program? Adrian, please unmute and say I do.
I do.
Wonderful. To the current members of Online Presenters, I remind all of you of your pledge to support Adrian in her quest for self-development, to provide her with positive, helpful evaluations, to maintain a friendly, supportive atmosphere, and to make her online presenters Toastmasters membership a rewarding and fulfilling experience. Congratulations again, Adrian, and welcome back to Online Presenters. Everyone, feel free to unmute and give Adrian a warm round of
back,
applause and
Adrian.
welcome.
Woo, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome aboard.
Awesome, and
Thank you.
please welcome to the virtual stage the person who will be running our show this evening, our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much, Lou. As all of you know, we have often said this in the past that we look forward to a team concept, a team approach, and we cannot do this on our own, no matter how much we would like to. So I want to introduce the team that will be participating, and they'll explain each of their roles. First, Jim Barber, tell us what you'll be doing.
With pleasure, Mr. Toastmaster. I have two roles this evening, chat monitor and watcher. As the chat monitor, this is rocket science, I'm going to be watching the chat for basically two things. I'm going to be seeing if there's anything that the Toastmaster needs to know about, and if so, I will interrupt and let Andy know what's going on if in the case of an emergency or something. Otherwise, I will simply make note at the end of the meeting, anything that was special in the chat that our members might want to save the chat so that they can recollect it later. As the watcher, this is a role, again, that's rather unique to online presenters. As the watcher, I'm basically a visual grammarian. I'm going to be looking at everybody's visual presence and making sure that everybody is doing a good thing. And that's it. I'm not the grammarian, so I can say that sort of thing, a good thing. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Our next functionary is Adrian. Will you tell us the role that you're going to be doing today?
Yes, I will be listening to the speech, evaluating it, making suggestions and recommendations, and then I will give proper feedback for improvement. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Trish, tell us what you're going to be doing for timer.
All right. I am going to be keeping track of the timing for the speakers and the evaluators and the table topic presenters. So we have 5 to 7 minute speeches, and I was just looking that up. So I may need some help with reminders. Let's see. Table topics are for 1 minute. Evaluations are for 2 to 3 minutes, I believe. And if somebody could please just help with the reminders, I appreciate it.
Okay, that's how we learn, by taking on new roles and getting help from the team as we go through those roles. We also have Lou. You're doing Grammarian, you said?
Yep, I am the GGE, Grammarian and General Evaluator.
Okay, what will you be doing?
Well, as grammarian, I will be watching for colorful usage of language and perhaps incorrect usage of language should that occur. I'll provide a brief report at the end of the meeting of my observations. And as general evaluator, I will also provide a report of my observations of the meeting itself and also call on all of the role helpers to provide their reports, as well as run the entire evaluation segment itself. A reminder that the word of the day is meditation. I'm happy to put a little bit more information in the chat as far as the definition of that. However, I have a feeling it's probably not necessary for all of us here, so feel free to ask if you do need more information on that. Otherwise, please use the word of the day meditation in your speeches and presentations. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, and not to forget the fact that for those roles that have multiple people participating, like the speaker, like the table topics, we will have voting on who's done the best for that role. And today, that's going to be Pam Benjamin. Are you going to be using David's vote counting tool, or are you going
I
to be
was
just...
going to be using the old school, send me your votes.
Okay, so look on your screen where Pam is, got a good idea where she is, and send your votes at the appropriate time to her, and she'll give a report a little bit later. Also, with a small break, Lasing joined us a little bit late. Just say 1 minute who you are.
Hello, everyone. I'm late today for technical reasons. I'm Lee Sing Zhu from North Carolina in Fayetteville, and I have been the member of this club for almost 2 years. Back to you, Angie.
Thank you very much. So, that being said, everybody being introduced, and you have a good idea of the functionaries. This meeting, like all Toastmaster meetings, are divided into 3 segments. The first segment is prepared speeches. The second segment is the table topics or impromptu speaking. And the third and most valuable section is evaluation or feedback. We evaluate everything. And as the Toastmaster of the Day Master of Ceremonies, we have an important role in managing our time, make sure that we do things in an appropriate way. So now that you're all set up, we're ready for our number 1 speaker, Andre Smalenko. Yes, go ahead,
I was
Pam.
going to do tips first.
Oh, okay. I see that there. Go ahead. Pam Benjamin going to do tips. Trish, put 3 to 5 minutes on the clock.
Good afternoon, good evening, online presenters. Have any of you ever tried to become really organized and found an application that would keep track of a certain set of information, and you used it and you used it? But then over time you realized that you outwore that that tip, that tool, whether it just be a flat sheet in Google Docs, whether it was an Excel spreadsheet. I ran across something that I want to introduce to you. It's called Notion. And Notion is a little different than most types of pieces of software. What it does is it gives you the ability to organize yourself. And what's unique about it, I think, I've used databases. I'm not a programmer, but I've used databases for many years. What I think is really, really helpful about it is that it gives you the ability to organize different things. Okay? So, well, that doesn't. So right here, comes from a library system, and then you could put all your catalog, all your items in there. It would be alphabetical by the author's name or the subject. But that's an idea of a way a database works. There's a lot of different information stored, and it's organized by, it's either can be organized by the subject of the books, or it could be organized by the data, the person's last name. That's different than something that we would say like Wikipedia. Wikipedia is just one long sheet, one long piece of paper, like a Microsoft Word document. And so the difference between those are a database versus a flat document. This here is just a minute. This is Notion. And I wanted to show it to you because it is so easy to use. How many people work with other people online and they need to collaborate? And you need to keep track of different types of information. You do that? What type of information? Is it medical, or is it like volunteer stuff, Andy?
Both. And
Both.
I've used Notion. I also use Evernote. Can do that.
I've
And
used
then
some of those, and those are flat files. And what I'm learning to do with some of my files that I would keep losing, specifically from the website, I really like this because it's so simple. You don't have to be a technology person. Here's some ideas that they have, the different types of files, and meeting notes. It's really good for meeting notes, keeping track of different things. Now, here is how I'm using it. I am designing fitness worksheets. And if I go in there, and what I really like about it is that I can put a picture next to my subject so I can always find it. And that's different than if it's a different piece of technology for my tutoring business. So I don't get all that information. When I would go to notes, or when I would go to some of those other files, I would put a lot of the information in there and it would just get a little overwhelming. So you can see some of my information is very eclectic, where I'm just putting them in different silos, but because of the ability that it has for those cataloging different items, you can see how rich your information can become. If it's not just like a text file, but it's list of people, and then you can actually use it. And there's so many different types of workspaces and ways to work with that. I think it's absolutely wonderful, especially if you're a small business person and you're looking to create simplicity in your life. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that and help you become more organized. So I hope you take a look at Notion. It's notion.so, and I'm going to put my email in the chat, and if I would like you to send me an email about what you thought about my presentation. I was going to do something else, and I just talked to David, and so I'm thinking about doing Notion because I think the application of it can work with so many other people. So I would like to hear your thoughts on it, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Miriam, one of the things that the club is doing is we're doing a global tour of a whole bunch of software, because as you're working online, you have a lot of different presentation software. But my finding, looking at myself in the Toastmasters journey, I know that I've been exposed and have used more than 60 different applications. So it's something that you're also learning and building a portfolio for the real world or the work outside of Toastmasters. Thank you very much, Pam. We are now turning our attention to Andrei Smalenko, who is going to be doing a prepared speech on Innovative Planning Level 3, Increasing Knowledge, Focus on the Positive. Title is I See You, Mara. And this is a 3 to 5 minute speech, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, it's a 5 to 7 minute speech.
5 to 7 minute speech.
Yes, 5 to 7 minute speech. Thank you.
Stage is yours.
The night before his enlightenment, the Buddha fought a great battle with the demon god Mara. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow online presenters and guests, the god Mara unleashed on Buddha all his powers: fear, lust, doubt, anger, but he was not successful. Buddha resisted the temptation, received his enlightenment, and right in the morning before the Buddha's enlightenment, Mara left in disarray. Later on, when Buddha became much more famous and known throughout India, his servants and then friends and then students was always watchful for Mara to come back. And demon Mara kept on coming back over and over again. And every time the watchful friend would ask Buddha, the evil one has returned. Should we ignore him? Should we send him away? Instead, Buddha replied, I see you, Mara. And instead of driving demon away or ignoring him, the Buddha would invite Mara to tea. Buddha would ask him to have a seat. He would serve him a tea first. He would set up a cup next to himself as well. He would make sure that Mara had comfortable seat with soft cushion. Making sure that his guest is comfortable, only then Buddha would sit down himself and talk to Mara. You see, in that way, when we are not ignoring our fears, when we're not driving them away, when we simply acknowledging them, accepting them, that they're parts of our life, they're parts of who we are. We're just a human. We create an incredibly powerful moment for our personal growth. The moments that could take us to the next level of consciousness. And of course, being much more positive in our life. I remember this story about Mara when I started working on my Toastmasters project. It's innovative planning level 3. The massive part of that project was about addressing strategies for improving all our personal interactions by addressing the impacts of our attitudes and thoughts on daily interactions. Well, I thought I knew what Mara did, so I can use it in Toastmasters. Well, probably not exactly in that way. Instead, our Toastmaster manual helped me to focus on two things to practice. The first one, practice gratitude. And the second, it was a day of positivity. Well, let's see how far I've gone with those two tasks that I set up for myself. Practicing gratitude. Well, to me, that was a simple task to accomplish. A few years ago, I had a life coach, and one of his tasks for me was writing things you're grateful for 10 minutes a day for 30 days in a row, and you will see what happened. Really, that simple exercise changed my life. Yes, I became more positive. Yes, the people who were close to me and my business partners, my family, they start noticing that positive differences in my life. I became happier. And as they say, that gratitude is the path to prosperity. I've noticed that myself. A day of positivity wasn't that easy as I thought. Well, I prepared my mindset. First thing in the morning, I wake up and give me any negative thoughts. I will notice it, I will see the pattern, and I turn it into a positive one. Piece of cake, you would say. Not really. That day, me and my family were prepared to go to the beach, just about an hour drive. My son burst into the room. I don't want to go, Daddy. I want to go and see my friends. My daughter went into the room. Dad, I want to go out with my boyfriend. And after weeks of careful negotiations, all them things went from positive into negative things. And only later, when I remember what I can do with my shifting mindset, well, it came to me and I start using that technique. You see, in my mind, when we start using those techniques, changing negative picture into positive one, just in the way we want, there is something missing. In my view, when we start doing something more meaningful, something more important, when we see the negative feeling, there is the reason for it in our life. Instead of reframing things, we can say, I see you anger when we feel angry. I see you doubt when we feel doubtful. I see you jealousy when we feel jealous. We're just humans. We can accept those emotions and we can make peace with those emotions as well. My challenge to you, my fellow Toastmasters, next time when you feel that maybe a negative emotion in our life and maybe distracting thoughts, I want you to say, I see you, Mara, and invite Mara to tea. Back to you, Toastmaster Lehman.
Thank you very, very much. We appreciate you providing that information for us and your speech. And we'll hear, of course, more about it as we go into the evaluation. Our second speaker is Teru. Teru, and forgive me if I don't get the pronunciation correctly, Teru Maruyama Yama is doing Motivational Strategies Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Icebreaker. Icebreakers are 4 to 6 minutes. A Revelation is the title, and you've indicated that you want to reserve 6 minutes for this speech. And that's what we have done for you. Take it away, Teru. You have the stage.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of Online Presenters Toastmasters Club, and distinguished guests. It is Tuesday, April 19, around 9 o'clock past 16 minutes here in Tokyo. That means I am ahead of 13 hours of American Eastern Standard Time. So it is perfectly all right to say good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, because we have a variety of countries with different standard time. So this is where I live. And I would like to present a brief introduction. My name is Toru Maruyama, as Toastmaster of the Day introduced. A little bit difficult to pronounce, but don't worry. You can call me Terry or someone. When I was in Middle East or in the United States, someone called me Mariyama, Mariyama. So pronounce the name of the Virgin Mary, Mary Ann. And this is my name. And my family name, Mariyama, means round mountain in Chinese character, which suggests that I am a soft, straightforward, and serious person. And my first name, Toru, in one Chinese character, means integrity, which suggests that I am a consistent, considerate, and compassionate person. And I am such a kind of person, believe me. And of course, I have not so good characters as well, but I will talk about it later. Later, not in the day, later in the week or after months. I'm sorry. I have been working as a journalist and as an editor in one of the major news agency in Japan called Kyodo News. It is an equivalent of Associated Press in the United States. We provide news to newspapers and broadcasting companies. And during my tenure, I worked as a chief correspondent in the Middle East, and the biggest news at that time was Gulf War. On the last day of my responsibility as a bureau chief, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, and from that day, I traveled to and out of Baghdad for entirely 7 months, from the very start of the war and end of the war. And my second job was bureau chief of New York. I covered the United Nations, financial news, and I especially interested in covering the trials, criminal and civil. And I was so interested in jury system, a trial by jury. So I worked hard in interviewing judges, prosecutors, and juror also. And I wrote a book on the trial by jury, and introduced it to the Japanese readers, and was very, very good received by the critics. And up to now, I have wrote 4 books. One of them was the about Gulf War, and also I wrote about the free trade of the United States, and also I wrote about the death and life in the United States, and I covered the execution of death penalty and euthanasia in some states, and I wrote a book about it. And I want to talk more, but time is running up, so let me close my icebreaker speech by saying the most outstanding thing about my life that happened to me is meeting my wife, and I have been happily married for 30 years up to now. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, Toru. We are now moving to the section of the table topics, which are the impromptu speeches. And let me just update the sheet. Did somebody take the role of table topics master? Okay, that looks like an open role, so I will fill in as we go through that. Timer, tell us about the table topic role, the time given for that. Trish?
I just put it in the chat box. Andrew was 7 minutes. Toru was 6.5. And if I needed to I did keep track of Pamela's. If I need to report that, 4 minutes and 45 seconds.
Okay. Table topics are 1 to 2 minutes. The green light goes off at 1 minute, the yellow at 1:30, and red at 2 minutes. So we are ready to go into our table topics section. For those that do not have roles, we will take a look, and you'll be more on the spot than others. The first question is this: how did this last week affect you now that everyone's focused on spirituality and people think about their meditations? Question goes to Marty. How were you affected by this week, this Holy Week?
Well, Mr. Topics Master, it's interesting because most of you probably don't know this, but I'm Jewish. So Easter to me has some connotations that are frightening. If you look back through history, you'll discover that Easter was a holiday that many Christians celebrated by taking Jews apart or otherwise making life miserable for them. So this week, to me, personally, it was a wonderful week. I'd been in the hospital, for a couple of months. Now I've been home for about 2 weeks, and it's been a wonderful 2 weeks so far. My wife and I have done a few things, including serving wonderful food. And for whatever reason, something we call gefilte fish is often with us over Passover. It's wonderful. We had some. Bottom line, I really had a week that did not have any great spiritual effect on me, but it was most surely a nice week after 2 weeks ill. 2 months. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Marty. The next question is this. This is the time where people start looking at spring. That's where the eggs come from because it connotes the beginning of new life. And how is all of this, the beginning of spring, the holidays, how does that impact you, Lasing?
So the question is how
Has this
eggs-
impacted you? Looking at spring.
Yeah, look at spring.
Yeah, look at cleaning your house or starting new things, or what are you doing differently?
Well, that's a good question. Looking at this spring, I think I need to practice gratitude. And I sometimes feel myself just slip into that emotion of negativity and too much focus on what I don't have, and not enough to focus on what I already have. So I'm thinking the springtime, everything is new and the tree is blooming and birds are calling each other to make new life, and that's come with the eggs. And with that, I think that's give me the hope and allow me feel grateful to whatever is coming up and grateful for the future, other than just looking back and feel regret and feel what I should have done or I should have not done. And fall into that negative emotions. And yeah, overall, yes, I think it's time to springtime. It's time to practice gratitude and to focus on positivity and hope and the future. Back to you, Angie.
Thank you very much. Of course, Carolyn lives in Chile, so she has a difference in terms of what constitutes spring and winter and fall because things are topsy-turvy below the equator. So, Caroline, how does it feel for you in Chile when everybody in the northern hemisphere is celebrating spring and you're just moving into winter, I suppose?
To be honest, I feel envy because I hate to be cold. I hate to be freezing, and Chile is very cold during the winter. Now is autumn, otoño,
Yes.
and every time, every day, I feel colder than the day before. So I feel envy. But this is a good time to spend more time in home, I think, maybe to rest. Because we have to add that the nights are longer than the day if we compare with the summer. I feel envy, to be honest. I remember last year when I joined this club and I could see all of you celebrating because the summer was there and you were using t-shirts and I was freezing. But it's okay because you give me some happiness to see you all so happy because this is summer. But I think this is a good season to rest and to be at home with the family.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Carolina. Adrian, let me ask you. You live in Miami. This is a time that we celebrate the spring and looking forward to the summer. Of course, we see lots of commercials on TV for dieting and bathing suits. And also in Miami, you're getting prepared to think about hurricane season. How do you prepare for that? What's going through on your mind?
I love hurricane season. It is amazing because it's the one time that we have unexpected days off. Everyone has to stop what they're doing, shut everything down. Everyone makes this mad rush to the store to get all their hurricane food and all their favorites. But what usually happens is while we're waiting for the hurricane to come, we're having hurricane parties. And we've eaten half of the hurricane supply, chips and all this unrefrigerated food. And so I always send pictures to my family because I'm sitting in my hot tub. I make a bubble bath. I'm eating my little snacks, sending them pictures. And they're like, that's hurricane season? It's like, yeah, until it comes, there's nothing to do. And then once the hurricane actually comes and hit, you know it, because guess what? Lights are off. And what am I doing? I am now trying to feel my way around the house to find where are the candles. Oh my, I'm upstairs, they're downstairs. Now I have to go down the steps in the dark to try to find where I left the hurricane supplies. Because when I started this bath, all the lights were on. I wasn't concerned about that. Then the next problem, no AC. Oh my gosh, now I have to run and open up all the windows. Thank goodness I'm in a 2-story house because it's no AC. There's no AC, there's no alarm. So now I'm really realizing that now I really should be afraid. I'm in the house, in the hurricane as a single woman by myself, no alarm, no lights on the street. It's pitch black dark. This is not so safe. And I'm thinking I should have bought a gun because I have exposed myself in this situation. So as I fumble around to finally get the candles and light them, I happen to remember that, oh yeah, I have a hurricane radio. And luckily it is the kind that you plug in. So I have already plugged it in. It's already fully charged. I now have lights. I have sound and radio. And thank goodness I'm just getting out of the tub. So I'm wet. I'm cool. I'm relaxed. I'm chilled out. And all my food and refrigerator is still cold. So I'm enjoying hurricane season. Fellow Mr. Toastmaster.
Well, that's a very interesting view of hurricane season, and we can talk offline about how to better prepare your house for hurricanes. Sounds like you have a way to go. I know that different parts of the country have different experiences. If you look on TV, the Midwest, where we have our guest from, they are concerned about tornadoes during this time period. And unlike Florida, where if you start digging too deep, you're going to come across the water table, in Nebraska, you better have yourself a good, deep shelter for the tornadoes. And actually, today I just saw part of the movie Twister from Steven Spielberg. So it really comes to mind. So, do you have a tornado shelter, Marianne?
I do. In fact, I grew up on the Kansas-Nebraska border. One of the fun factoids is I watched a major tornado with twin sisters when I was in grade school. Since I've moved to where I live now, just very near to Omaha, it was back in 2008. My son was getting ready to be a senior in high school, and we were hit with a tornado. What was amazing is that it came at 2:09 in the morning. Never used to have those happen. Since I've been married to my husband, we seem to get them in the middle of the night. And we woke up, our security was going off, but there was no doors open. Security company calls us, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, we're fine." And then all of a sudden the whole house goes, very, very strange. My two children are upstairs looking down at us. We have a 1.5-story house. And when it started making that sound, we all went down to the basement. We do have a concrete block safe area. We went down there and hung out for a while. And then my husband decided to be brave once it got all quiet. He took the big flashlight and aimed it south of the house. We live on an acreage. And then his face went rather white and he goes, my shed, it's gone. The tornado had gone through our backyard and flattened a 6-car garage. Very interesting. There was just rubble all about. So yeah, tornadoes are a reality. And my husband swears that I bring them with me. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Okay. Well, we've had significant, interesting stories during our table topics and get a chance to know each of our members a little bit better. And having this diverse geography gives different things that you think about during this time period. That takes us to a very important area to be run by the general evaluator. It's evaluation time. Lou, the stage is yours.
Thank you, sir. Yes, the third and final portion of our program, the evaluation segment. Arguably the most important part of any Toastmasters meeting. I hear that a lot from folks. I'm thinking all 3 sections are equally valuable and important. I really couldn't pick one over the other. Anyway, let's jump right into evaluations. We have Carolina evaluating Andre's speech. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Carolina.
Thank you, Lou. The main objective of Andre tonight was to practice being aware of his thoughts and feelings, as well as the impact of his responses on others. To achieve this objective, it's a good idea to record the negative feelings, thoughts, and responses in a personal journey in order to analyze and share the speech after that inner work. Then the introduction of your speech, Andrew, was awesome, because to share the story about Mara, I didn't know this devil, and connect with your inner work, with the personal work you did during this experience was great, because it was very deep and was the perfect opportunity to continue the story and go deeper in this work that you had to do in this project. You asked me to pay attention in the flow and connections in your speech. And here I think that there's room for improvement, because you started like a rocket talking about Mara, a very nice story. And then you cut the speech with something very academic, a slide with the name of the project, the objective. And I think this was a very good opportunity to continue with your story, connect Mara with your personal experience, and this way to connect with your audience. Just keep the flow, no matter what is the name of the project, the academic name, what are the objectives, just flow with your story and tell us how was the experience of your inner alchemy during this month or these weeks you did the project of record your feelings, your thoughts, and transform this in positive way and to be aware. You told us about a trip you had with your family. It was a great experience, but I would like to hear more about the process itself, how you performed the inner alchemy, how was the experience to have negative feelings and transform this into positive, and that way you connect better with the audience, because all of us has these experiences of being anger, for instance, and have to calm down, think about the consequences or why we are feeling like this, if it's something related with our childhood, etc. You excelled at your personal presentation, very elegant, the pitch, voice, volume, the eye contact. I can notice that you are a very advanced speaker, and congratulations for that. And looking forward to see your next speech.
Thank you very much, Carolina. And I'm sure our timer knows evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. I'm sure I do not need to remind her of that. We have Adrian, who is evaluating Toru's speech. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Adrian Williams.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests. The purpose of this speech is for the member to introduce himself to the club and to learn the basic structure of a public speech. This is the first speech, and basically what we're going to talk about is the delivery and the style. It's the first project, and so you excelled at having rich content in your speech to draw from. You have so much vast experience that it really gave you a lot of content that you could have covered. And that's something that's really good about speeches, because you didn't run out of things to say. You had a lot of things to say. You may want to work on grouping items into categories. For example, in section 1, you could have talked about the career and your experiences as a career. And 2, when you talk about the author, bam, name the books. When you go to number 3, your family, you could have started with the family and then went into the other categories. So when I find that if we group things, we can remember the items under them quicker as we're doing our speech. To challenge yourself, get to the point. Do not waste time. The timer is ticking. And if you don't have great time management, you run out of time. And so if you know you're going to talk about 3 points, the career, author, family, you may want to give 2 minutes to each one of those, or 1 minute. And maybe you want a longer opening or a longer close. That will help you to structure the speeches a little bit better. Clarity, the speech was clear. I was able to easily understand you. I appreciate you taking the time to tell us how to pronounce your name correctly. And so I know it's Toru Mariama. And for vocal variety, I felt that your tone was monotone. There are ways that you can project in some areas, or say, man, me writing about trials it was so interesting to me that I actually ended up publishing 4 books. And so that will show some excitement in your speech. As far as eye contact, you did a good job with that, but there were times when you were looking around the room, thinking about the ceiling, looking up. Don't forget to look at the camera. Sometimes we do forget. We're looking at the screen, but not the camera. You did as far as gestures, you were rocking back and forth in some cases. So just be aware of that and find a way to engage the audience. When you talked about your experiences under different presidents, that would be a good time to say, hey, have you guys have something exceptional in your life that you've experienced? Well, I did. Something just as simple as that. You seem comfortable with the content. Just watch the rocking back and forth. And the speech was very interesting. You did an excellent job. I especially enjoyed learning about the complicated process of trial by jury. You did an amazing job, and thank you for sharing with us. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Williams. Appreciate it. Okay, that concludes the evaluators portion of the evaluation segment. Madam Timer, did both of our evaluators qualify?
Yes, they did.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Just saw the times pop up in the chat. Folks, please send your vote for best evaluator to our vote counter, Toastmaster Benjamin. And we will commence with reports. Let's start with my report as grammarian, since it will be fairly quick. The reason being, I was so engrossed in the speeches that I actually was not taking notes on proper usage of grammar. So my apologies to both Andre and Toru. Now, the fact that I was so engrossed shows me, and hopefully all of you, that sometimes you can get so caught up in things that, that just happens. That's not really an excuse, but where I'm going is, I just noted so much. Andre, you talked about positivity and the great advice you got from your life coach as far as journaling and meditation and gratitude and so many wonderful things that I was like, wow, that is just such great advice and a wonderful transformation, I'll say, from where we may be in life to where we really want to be. And that is, to me, it may not be of a grammarian nature, but is just such an excellent presentation of your information from a positive standpoint, and I appreciate that. And Toru, with you, sharing your story about yourself is always a wonderful thing to hear. I just really love learning about our members. They have so much to share, but especially our newer members as we get to learn more about each and every one of them. I did not note any improper usage of grammar. I did note that Andy used the word of the day, meditation. It may have been a little challenging to kind of slip that in there here and there. Although Toru, I did note at one point, you had your hand like this with your eyes closed. And I thought, I think Toru may be meditating. It looked like meditation to me. So I was going to maybe mention that, and that way I get credit for the word of the day as well. You perhaps are just taking a breather, but if you were meditating, kudos to you, my friend. It is an awesome experience. From an odd counter perspective, what I noted there was, I guess I'll say, the usual things that plague all speakers, and that is sentence starters such as and, so, or but, or other clutch phrases. While they weren't so pervasive that it requires me to per se really note any person or anything in particular, but again, that is something that we should continue to work on, is taking a pause rather than use sentence starters like and, so, or but. The other thing is, I know some of our members, English is a second language. And with that being said, I noted that there were more ahs or ums than perhaps might otherwise be the case, because it felt like there was a need to fill that space. And I think that is especially challenging for folks where English is a second language. It is tough enough for us where English is our first language. And granted, even with me, English is tough enough. It's my only language. So I tend to also try to fill dead air with clutch words or ahs and ums. I'll simply offer this bit of advice to everyone: is simply take a breath, take a pause, say nothing. Even wherever English falls in your spectrum of languages, simply take a pause and then say whatever word that you plan to say, and you will reduce, if not eliminate, a lot of those clutch words. Very good. Okay. See, look at that, a clutch word right there. Okay, I tend to say that a lot. I need to work on that myself. Madam Timer, I believe you have provided all the information in the chat. Do you have any other information to share from a timing perspective?
I don't think so. Congratulations, everybody qualified.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. We have double duty Jim Barber doing Watcher and Chat Monitor. Please provide your report on those two aspects of the meeting.
With pleasure, Mr. General Evaluator. As far as being chat monitor, I have one word to say, and that is meditation. Has nothing to do with the chat, but I wanted to get the word of the day in. As far as the chat goes, it was a quiet chat. We didn't have a whole lot going on tonight. And that's fine, nothing wrong with that. There was one item of importance. Pamela Benjamin asked for people to give her feedback by email on her tip presentation so that she'll know whether to do it or not at EVVCon, and also, how she's doing. So her email address is in the chat. Please note it and please email your feedback to her. And that's an opportunity also to mention, of course, as you probably know, that you should save the chat. It's an easy way to do it, so you don't have to write things down. Just click on chat, click on the three dots, and click on save chat. Makes it easy. Now, as far as the watcher, since I'm doing that as well, everybody, of course, did what I would expect here at Online Presenters. Everybody's visual presence was superb. It was fantastic. I have special kudos to mention to two people. First, to Big Turtle. Marty, you did a good job. You've got a blurred background. Now, several other people have blurred backgrounds as well. Yours isn't better than theirs, but you had several months ago a lot of problems with your background. And so I just wanted to point out that you've got it nailed. That was really nice. Looks good. You got it. You brought it together. That was a great job. Also, the second thing I wanted to mention was Andre. Congratulations, Andre. You used Prezi so nicely. People that have been victims of my evaluations in the past know that I demand that you not let your slides overpower you as the speaker. And Andre, you didn't do that. There was no doubt at any point that you were giving the presentation. Your slides supported you. I like the way that they drifted in from the page at the appropriate time, and then they drifted off the screen. It was just so professionally done. Kudos to that. As I say, everybody did a good job, though. This was a delight. Back to you, Mr. GE.
Thank you, Mr. Chat Monitor / Watcher. Big Turtle, I am so very, very, very sorry. I know we asked you to be a counter right at the beginning of the meeting, and here I kind of gave a little bit of my own counter report myself. I was going by my notes, and I should have been looking at the thumbnails, because even when I was acting as SAA, I was asking folks, please put your role in front of your name. So, but you know what, Mr. Turtle, would you like to provide your thoughts on how we did from a counter clutch word perspective? And don't forget to hit the unmute lower left.
Unmute, Marty.
Sorry about that. As to the counter, this was a really strange meeting. And the reason it was so strange, as was earlier noted, those of us who grew up speaking English don't have too much trouble expressing what we want, but those who are using English as a second language have a problem sometimes. As I noted, particularly with one of our two speakers, it's very hard if you're speaking in a language you don't really know. Yo hablo español un poco, so I have a little idea of what it's like to speak in a language you don't know. And I can't imagine what I would have in the way of ahs, ums, oh no's, and so forth if I were trying to give a speech in Spanish, which is the language other than English that I know best. So one of our speakers is our speaker 2, who I will not try to pronounce his name because I'll mispronounce it and I don't mean to be insulting. A lot of odds, but if I were trying to give a speech in what was not my first language, I can imagine that I would fill the world with ahs and ums and oh no, did I say that? It's difficult. These were the only people I noticed that even had an or two. I was probably the worst of the bunch. So I will say that those who had ahs had good reason for them. I didn't hear an unnecessary crutch word anywhere, and I congratulate all of us on our mastery of presentation. Back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sandler. Appreciate it. Mr. Big Turtle, awesome report. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. My evaluation of the meeting, I think I'm going to use some words that Marty used. I think you said was odd or strange or something like that. And the only reason I say that is because I myself was very discombobulated from the get-go. I was focusing on our new member induction as well as helping Andy to fill some roles. Also knowing that we had a somewhat lower turnout than usual, only because of the holiday for us here in the States, tax day. It almost feels like, me personally, I'm in a fog or just got so many things going on that I'm just not with it. So I apologize to all of you if that's what you sensed from me, because that's really where I was coming from. But I, tried my best to multitask as best I could. But even with a small gathering, I really appreciate the fact that we always pull it together at the last minute. Jim, thank you for playing double duty. Adrian and Jim for kind of doing a little switcheroo with the evaluation role so that we could, really spread the work, I guess I'll say, and just make sure everything's covered. And even as advanced speakers, I think I mentioned at the beginning that, it's not always necessary to have certain roles, because I think it's just important to really focus on the things that are, I'm not going to say are higher priority than others, but again, as advanced Toastmasters, we know accounting, how we should learn to be more aware of our clutch words. No need for that. Thank you to our guests, for both of you, for being here. We have about 4 minutes left in the program, so I'd love to hear your reflections on our meeting. And I believe, Cindy, you look familiar, so I believe you have joined us once in the past. If not, I apologize. But let's start with you, Cindy. How did you feel about our meeting?
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you again. I was in the meeting many months ago, and I stopped for a while. I like the club, the atmosphere, the supporting atmosphere, and especially right now, remote working, remote meetings are become a common thing in the world. So improve presentation skill online is become one of the essential skill set nowadays for daily work or for other occasions. I do enjoy the talk today. It helped me to pay attention of various skills to how to address how to emphasize the point, how to give a very live, interesting presentation, getting people's attention, delivered idea within the restrictions within a small screen, but could have creating an effect as presenting on the stage, like in a regular room, and people could see you in normal occasions. Presenting idea within different contexts. For example, it could be in a casual meeting, become more relaxing, refreshing, more casual, or could be more in a formal meeting. Well, it's more important about the structure, the way how to emphasize the key point, pay more attention to the pace of the speech, utilize various skills to deliver the idea. So this definitely see very diversified skill set to fit different occasions to enhance the presentation. That's something I'm looking for, and definitely I see that's I could learn from this meeting. Yeah, I think I will continue, and it's also very nice to see everybody again. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And Cindy, I'm not sure if you introduced yourself at the beginning. Did you have a chance to do that?
Oh, yeah,
before we
sure.
started the meeting? Okay. So I just wanted to make sure, because I'm sorry?
Yeah, my name is Cindy. I'm in New Jersey. So I'm on the Eastern Standard Zone, Eastern Standard Time Zone.
Okay.
Right now, the season is spring. We start to see flowers blooming, weather become warmer, weather people more enjoy outdoors. We're expecting summer's coming and all the various outdoor activities. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I had dialed in a little late myself, so I missed some of the introductions. Appreciate it, Cindy. Marianne, please share your thoughts on our meeting.
I found the meeting very interesting, and the fact that I learned so much, because let's see, it's Pamela did the notions, and I definitely want to find out more about that because I think it will help me build my business. And then also the use of Prezi, because I've heard about it, I've seen it in the past, I've never seen it used in a meeting, and I love the fact that you can have the information at your side. You can do it in Zoom, but it's a little bit more of a challenge. So my clutch word, my filler word is so now. I know those two. Those are my two filler words. I just need to be quiet and make you listen. So back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marion. And we hope that you will join us again in the future. I also agree with the whole Prezi thing. Pamela is becoming more of an expert. She has shared with us when she first started using it, and I've noticed it in several of her presentations, which is a slight tangent right now. Pamela, thank you so much for the tech tip presentation. That also is great to learn of something new, Notions. Oh my goodness, there's so many new pieces of software out there. It's amazing and great to learn about these things. And I see Andre using, I guess I'll say, Prezi in real time. So that is amazing. I'm going to check that out as well. It just seems like an amazing tool. We are pretty much right at the top of the hour. I officially call this meeting to a close. Mr. Host, which I believe is Andy, please stop the recording.
You forgot the winners.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I'll pause waiting for that, but thank you, Adrian, for reminding us of that. Who are the winners of the different speeches and table topics, Pamela?
Best speaker is Andre. The best table topic is Andre. They're all so similar. Andre, and then the best table topic is Adrienne, and the best evaluator was Carolina. Carolina. Ina.
Awesome.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you. Yes, congratulations, everyone.